I don't know why. When people tell me that their husbands like something in my work, I think, oh, you must really love your wife. You know what I mean? Like, because I think I'm trying to play you.
Welcome to Salon Talks. I am Mary Elizabeth Williams, and this lovely woman next to me is Rosemarie Dewitt. You know her, of course, from Rachel Getting Married, which we're still obsessed with, like 12 years later, La La Land, from all kinds of great television shows. Mad Men, you were like my favorite first moment in Mad Men. Thanks. Little Fires Everywhere, The Staircase, Black Mirror, The Boys, and Just Like That. I want to talk about that. But now you are knowing her from Smile 2, and we're going to talk about this incredible new Disney film, Out of My Mind. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I love this movie so much. It is so beautiful and graceful and funny. Mm-hmm. For those who haven't read the book, or don't know the story, tell me a little bit about who you are, who Diane is, and this character in this world.
Yeah, I play the mom of a whip-smart, beautiful, young teenager with cerebral palsy. And in the movie, the character of Melody is in a wheelchair, and she can't speak. She has nonverbal CP, and we eventually are able to purchase, it's really expensive, a Medi-Talker device. And she kind of finds her voice. So my character, I thought I was going in playing a mom who like advocates for her daughter and is like a mama bear. And I was, but I came away from the movie going, oh, it's really for the mother journey. It's really about learning to trust your kids, learning to listen to them, knowing that they're fully formed people, even though their frontal lobe isn't fully formed, you know what I mean? But they're gonna spend most of their time on this earth as adults, you know, and we're just there for a little bit to do this.
It's one of the things I love so much about it and about your character and the parents in general, because it's the parents are imperfect. Mm-hmm. They lose their patience. They make mistakes. They make the wrong calls. And you see Melody's frustration with that, and you also just see the humanity of being a parent.
Yeah.
What's it like approaching a character like that? Because she's not the saintly, perfect mom figure. They're not the perfect parents.
No, not by a long shot. And neither are any of us, right? Especially on our worst day, you know. I always get happy when my kids do get to see movies and they're like, you're not that bad, Mom. And I'm like, yay. No, they're deeply flawed, which are my favorite characters to play. Otherwise, there's no meat on the bone, you know. And Melody is the real heroine of the story. Like, she's the heartbeat. She knows what she wants. She knows that you can't bubble wrap the world. Like, she's gonna get knocked around, she's gonna get pushed aside. You know, a lot of our movie is about that. That's the terrible reality of being a person with a disability. I mean, Phoebe Ray-Taylor, who plays the role, you know, talks about it a lot. I mean, she educated us a lot on the film. Just like, I go to the movie theater and the only place for me to sit is in the way, way back corner where the wheelchair can fit. Or I start walking through New York City, I'm like, oh, she can't eat at any of these restaurants. There's no ramps, you know. Or if you speak with a device, or you have a speech impediment from cerebral palsy, like, people just don't wait. You ask, not you, but someone asks a question, and then it takes like a couple breaths, and then they just move on because we can't slow down.
No, it's the impatience. I had a very good friend who had ALS, and it was the same kind of frustration.
Yeah.
And she would say, please, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Just wait for me. But people don't want to.
They don't, and then we're the ones who miss out when we don't wait. You know, and because Phoebe was the funniest, wittiest, like, she was the one who had everybody in stitches every day. But if you didn't wait an extra beat, I mean, she's fully verbal and articulate and beautiful, gorgeous speaker. But it sometimes takes a minute for the muscles of your mouth to start working, you know, and we would have missed, like, I would have missed out on a dear friend.
And this was her first role.
Yeah.
This is her debut.
Yeah.
How did you two work together to establish that mother-daughter rapport and that prickliness?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it was the generosity of her parents, because, you know, they were there on set, as any child actor's parents are. And she would just kind of pull me aside and be like, so let me tell you how I help her out in the bathroom. Let me tell you. And just like the generosity of sharing all the ins and outs, I think just like they let me tag along, you know, and Phoebe was so incredibly brave to just, for your first time ever, come onto set, 300 people shoving a camera in your face, and just being fully transparent. But she was so generous, just explaining things to me along the way. And I think that level of vulnerability helped us get there. And then the script, I'm the nag parent, and Luke Kirby gets to be the fun one. So, just that nature kind of starts to feed it.
I want to know, so what have you learned now? How has it changed you? Because you are already a mom of daughters who are very close in age.
Yeah.
And you have talked, I've watched you in interviews talk about the things that people say to you as a parent and say to your daughters because they're different.
Yeah.
You've experienced some of that.
Yeah.
How do you translate that then into this part? And what did you bring into it from your own experience, learning from your own daughters?
And it's true, I think, with this character of Melody, too. I think it requires a lot more fierceness than I come into the world with. Sometimes people say really hurtful things to my kids. It's not intentional. It's just out of curiosity, usually, but it's their lived experience. So, recently we were in a hair salon, a hair store, getting braiding hair for my daughter. My eldest daughter's African American, my little one's Mexican American, and her complexion is a little bit closer to mine. And so the woman behind the counter assumed I was the mother of my youngest, but not my oldest. So she kind of she's like, oh, is that her friend? And I saw my older daughter kind of be like, first of all, why do you need to know? And when I walked out of the car, I was like, no, these are both of my daughters. And I got out into the car and I was like, God, you know what I wish I said? And Gracie was like, mind your business. And I was like, you're right. Those are the kind of responses. I just was raised to be like a good girl, a people pleaser. So I'm really finding that response. That's not my knee jerk. I usually kind of swallow some stuff, but on their behalf, I won't do it. You know what I mean? So that's what's growing me. And I think, and then in this story, it's about letting your kids do it for themselves when they need to. It's when to step out and not fight their battles.
When to speak up, when to step back. It's a lifelong process. And you've done that in other roles. It's certainly the Black Mirror is very much that story as well. Also, and then there's a very different version of that in Smile too. I want to ask you about that because it's such a different kind of thing. But again, it's you have this incredible rapport with your daughter in with the actress playing your daughter in it.
Yeah.
What was that? How did you create a different, because she's is such a different kind of a mom.
You mean in Smile?
In Smile too, yeah.
Well, thank God on that one, we started the very first day of my shooting was the very last scene I had in the movie with her, which was this big, crazy operatic fight scene that gets kind of gross. And Naomi is a really likable, wonderful human being. So I was glad it was the first day because it was before I knew her. You know what I mean? Because then I would have been wanting to plug into her. So it's this, it's horror. So you get to play icy, cold, there's no feeling in horror that's wrong. Right? You either use it or you don't use it, where other films are, genres are more nuanced. Sometimes the bigger swings play better in horror. So yeah, it was fun to not know her, so I wasn't worried about her at all. As I was screaming and spitting in her face, 3 or 4 weeks later, I would have been like, oh, I'm sorry, are you okay?
It's easier with a stranger. You've done other horror. You are a veteran of horror. You've been doing it for a long time. I saw something you said recently that really struck me because I feel that way too as a horror fan. Sometimes questioning, is horror good for women?
Yeah.
The role of women in horror, because it is the victim. They're often the victims, but they're often also the villains. There's a level of exploitation for those of us who grew up in those Final Girl movies in the 80s, like you and I did. How do you reconcile that? Because it can be the most empowering genre, and it can also be the most exploitive.
Well, right, and it's a fine line, and I grapple with it all the time, because a movie, a lot of people go to horror for entertainment value, and sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we do, we're in entertainment, because I love a movie out of my mind, I love when there's a real reason behind it all. But then I think a lot of it, Smile 2, is dealing a lot with our culture, and I think whenever we can see ourselves, with this sort of phone obsessed, our own image obsessed, just that we're not, I thought it made us think about things. So, I kind of looked at it that way. And I mean, Naomi is the most empowered actress. She's a force of nature. And I think she was psyched to sing and dance and show all her colors. And I think the director, Parker, would get annoyed with me when I would look at him and be like, I think she's cried enough for today. You know, because it's hard to watch women have to, you know what I mean, for someone's entertainment. You know?
It is hard to watch women have to suffer
Yeah.
for other people's entertainment or suffer in general.
Yeah.
Rosemary, this is an interesting time we're living in.
Yeah.
You were canvassing over the summer,
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
How are you doing now? I think every woman, I want to ask them, how are you doing? Let's start with that. And then how are you talking to your daughters?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not great. I mean, I'm fine, right? Like, you know, we're fine. We're fine. I say not great, meaning like I just did a big disconnect that Tuesday night. Like I saw where it was going, and then I was like, I need to be present with my kids. And this relationship, like if I can read one more news article, if I can do one more thing that makes us safe, wasn't working. So I was just like, okay, I'm actually just going to turn my gaze and be present. I mean, it is hard. They're young enough where I don't think they have that existential fear that a lot of teens and people in their 20s have about like, what do I even dream of when a world is on fire? Like they're not there. But my oldest daughter said, like, you know, if things change hands and the future president brings slavery back, will you pretend I'm a slave but let me do whatever I want? And I was like, and it's not like they watch anything, but they can feel the danger of the rhetoric, that it doesn't mean good things for lots of people. So I don't know, I just meet them, I'm like, right now, we're all safe. Right now, like today, in the moment, right? Are we safe? Are we okay? I don't know if that will always be true. That's what I guess, I don't know what's in the tea leaves. Like we were fighting this fight, like things could go really bad. I hope they don't. I hope I'm really wrong.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? I hope things get better I really hope things get better for everybody. And we're good. I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I'd love to be wrong about that stuff. I would be delighted to be wrong about that.
Yeah, me too.
That raising daughters, and for you, raising daughters into women of color, is...
Which I'm not equipped for. You know, I need a lot of helpers. They have a lot of role models that aren't me, as any child does, right? Like we all went to school and found like that teacher, that coach. You know what I mean? There's this Lisa Dalmore. Do you know who she is? She's this brilliant, like, child psychologist, and she just talks about being the walls of the pool. Like kids don't want to know you're there. You know what I mean? They need to come over and grab it for a while and they need to swim over. So that's my job. Just
I
the
love
walls.
That.
Yeah.
That's a good metaphor, right? Just like give them the limit.
Just be there.
Just be there.
Because they need something
to swim over to when they feel like they're sinking.
And then nobody wants to think about the walls of the pool. Then they want to have fun.
Then you got to put them back in the middle. Yeah. Maybe sometimes with a floaty, but it's going to be. But they're going to
throw them a lifeline, right? Once in a while.
But they're going to be okay. I love that. That's very good parenting. So speaking of parenting, you and your husband, I want to ask about this because you were both on an iconic episode of Sex and the City, and you didn't meet then.
No.
You did not meet your husband until years later.
Yeah, on a not iconic series, I might add.
On a lesser show. But I want to know, did you have opinions about Berger? Did you have opinions about the Post-it? You're in the Post-it episode.
Okay, so this is the full disclosure, and it's embarrassing to say, but I was such a broke theater actor in New York that I didn't have cable. I don't even think my TV was hooked up. I missed Sex and the City in its entirety. Like I played Fern, you know, in my one scene. So I don't know that he wasn't even really in my radar because I didn't see it until much later. We had been dating for a year or two and I was in a hotel room here and I called him and I was like, oh my God, I'm watching Sex and the City. You're so cute as Berger. You know, but we were already like trying to get pregnant, you know what I mean, by the time I saw him.
Okay.
So yeah, but I did really feel women's anger at him. When we were dating, people would stop him, especially in New York City, and be like, you broke up with her on a Post-it. And then now I've heard people joke, like, that would have been preferable to the ghosting. Right. You know, at least you responded.
Right. At least there was a Post-it. I know
now you don't even get a Post-it.
Now women don't even get a Post-it. You don't even get a text. So,
I know.
So it's a lot better. I want to ask about that. Well, let me go back to the theater thing because you are a theater person. You didn't even really start your cinematic career until much later in life.
Yeah.
How does that equip a person to get by in Hollywood, to age in Hollywood. You've been answering questions about your age. I've watched interviews from 15 years ago where people were asking you about aging in Hollywood. How does that background on the stage prepare a person differently?
I mean, I can only speak, from my perspective. For me, it was really good. I mean, not that I'm immune to all the stuff. None of it's like fun. But I remember coming out to LA after a breakup in New York, which is what kind of propelled it. I'm like, I just need to get out of Dodge for a minute. The New York theater community is tiny. And I was like, just seeing the allegiance to beauty out there was different than being a theater actor. And, women were coming in with the short skirts and all the things. And I was just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just going to give it a whack. Like, I didn't ever feel like I was a part of that. It was nice to go out older. Like, it's not that I didn't experience love me, pick me, choose me, but I kind of felt like I did that more here with like the casting directors that just only wanted to see you if you went to NYU grad or Yale grad or Juilliard. That's a different thing than when you go out there and it's about, like here it was a little bit about credentials and pedigree and talent, for sure, and bravery and but out there, I think it can be a lot more about. Ron one time said to me, somebody got a role that I think I wanted, and I was like, God, they're not even good. He goes, oh, you don't have to be good. I was like, you have to be good. He's like, no, you think you have to be good. You don't really have to be good. It's just different.
It's a different standard. Well, that reminds me, you said something to me before we started talking that I love, and I want to share this with other women, Rosemary, because I told you that my husband is in love with you. And you said you get that a lot. Or you get that a
lot. I said I got that like one other time.
You said, all right, you said you've gotten it before. I don't want to misquote you, but you said you've gotten it before once or twice. What is it you think about you that makes husbands love you?
Well, no, when you said it, I was like, oh, you probably have a good guy. And I meant it just because I don't feel like, people like me for you know what I mean? Like, I hope it's because like of something that I'm like looking for or trying to sniff out. I thought, oh, he must like really love. I don't know why. When people tell me that their husbands like something in my work, I think, oh, you must really love your wife. You know what I mean? Like, because I think I'm trying to play you. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to play the idea of a woman. It was always really hard, especially when I didn't have a little bit more, when my process was less collaborative, when maybe directors didn't care what I thought about the role. It was always really hard to play like male fantasy kind of parts or the idea of women. And that does happen. You're always trying to flesh out the script and mine it. But I'm not trying to play somebody that women can't see themselves in. You know what I mean? I want to be somebody that, I want to be the character, but I want to be somebody that you go, yeah, I do that. Not somebody like, oh, I'll never be that.
Yeah.
And I'll never tell you what I did. You know what I mean? Or what face cream I use or something.
It's a realness. If your husband loves you, they probably love their
you.
wife. They love you.
Yeah,
they love your wife.
I think they just like a real woman.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I'm going to tell him
Not that I'm like the poster child for real women. That sounds like really...
No. I'm going to tell him that, and he's going to be very pleased, and then I will love him a little more because
Good. I just want you to love your husband.
All right. I have one more thing I want to ask you because we go full circle with Sex and the City because you've had this really amazing, I feel like, microphone drop role last season.
And I come back this season.
Okay, great. Because I want to ask about that because you are one of the few people who ever tells Carrie what's what. And I've waited 25 years for a character like yours. Oh my God, are you kidding? I hate Carrie. Okay. So I wanted to, are you and Natasha going to team up? Because that's the dream team I want to see of like the ex-wives just finally telling Carrie.
I don't know where it's all going to go. But the stuff that, it's always that show, you're so tight-lipped, that I get to, we get to explore real stuff. So that's what I was grateful for. And I think this season we get, with Aiden and Carrie and my character and the family, we get to explore things that real families are struggling with. And so that propels Carrie into the world of harder conversation. You know what I mean? Not that she's not always in, but this one is like, oh yeah. This is what it's about.
In the real world.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. But in the meantime, we can watch you in this absolutely beautiful, beautiful Disney film. That
I love it. I hope
love
people
it too.
see it. It's just it's a good story with a really beautiful actor at its center.
It's absolutely lovely. Out of my mind. You don't have to be a mom to love it. You don't have to be a kid to love it. It's just a beautiful.
Just be a human being.
Just be a human who wants to see a beautiful story.
Yeah, and who wants to see people treated with dignity and who wants to see each other in our full humanity.
We need that now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for watching Salon Talks. If you had a good time, why not subscribe right over here so you can get more conversations with your favorite artists, actors, directors, writers, comedians, musicians, politicians, everybody you love, and I love too. And while you're here, why not watch another video right now?